worrying and alarming to see the amount of people who are hungry, who can afford to eat 3 square meals per day. I think there's this formula, they call it the 101 or the 011 or the 010.
Some people go 001, some go 000.
Yeah, they don't even
eat at all in a day.
So,
because a whole lot of Nigerians, go to bed without anything, without any food to eat. And it is pertinent that we discuss on these issues. We as a country, what are we doing as regards our agricultural resources? How are we able to harness all of these rich resources that we are blessed with? We should not be hungry. No Nigerian child should go to bed without eating. Judging by the fact that we are blessed with arable land, and of course we have all of this.
But actually, Justin, it's not even the fact that we do not have land, or we don't even have the agricultural produce. The problem is the accessibility to the food. I mean, because you're going to eat anything here, you have to pay for it.
Yes.
So most of the time, the problem is not that there's no food. The problem is you can't have access to food because you can't pay for it. So it's basically
food shouldn't really be expensive.
You know what I'm saying? So it basically boils down to poverty at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's not that there's no food out there. It's because people are so poor they can't afford to buy food and all of that. Apparently, in the year 2011, over 842 million people were suffering from chronic hunger, and it's quite annoying and alarming. And also, there are different reasons for hunger in and around the world. It's just like countries who are strived with war. They have to go through. You have to see people, human beings, children, not eating at all. It's quite a whole lot, and these are some of the issues we intend to address today.
Yes, we will be looking at that, and we have a guest here with us in Lagos, and of course we have. The Ministry of Agriculture from Oyo State will be talking to us as regards what they have been doing as regards food, stability in the state and Nigeria in general. But before we get to introduce our guests, let us give you a bit of a background information on World Food Day, and we'll come back to talk to our guests to join us again.
World Food Day is celebrated every year around the world on 16th October in honor of the date of the founding of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in 1945. World Food Day is a day of action dedicated to tackling global hunger. The final report of the 1996 World Food Summit states that food security exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Household food security exists when all members at all times have access to enough food for an active, healthy life. Individuals who are food secure do not live in hunger or fear of starvation. In the years 2011 to 2013, an estimated 842 million people were suffering from chronic hunger. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, identified the 4 pillars of food security as availability, access, utilization, and stability. The United Nations recognized the right to food in the Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 and has since noted that it is vital for the enjoyment of all other rights. The 1996 World Summit on Food Security declared that food should not be used as an instrument for political and economic pressure. Famines have been frequent in world history. Some have killed millions and substantially diminished the population of a large area. But the most common causes have been drought and war. The greatest famines in history were caused by economic policy. Food access refers to the affordability and allocation of food, as well as the preferences of individuals and households. The UN Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights noted that causes of hunger and malnutrition are often not a scarcity of food, but an inability to access available food, usually due to poverty. Food stability refers to the ability to obtain food over time, and food insecurity can be transitory, seasonal, or chronic.
Alright, welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Galaxy today, and it's the World Food Day. I'm imagining why I don't have lots of foods around me, judging by the theme for this year. Alright, we have our guest here in Lagos. Let us make welcome Prince Wale Oyekoya. He is the former chairman, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Agric Sector, and he is also the GMD of Bama Farms Limited. Many thanks for joining us, Prince Oyekoya.
Nice for having me.
Yes,
Good morning,
our pleasure.
sir.
Good morning.
Welcome.
How are you? Been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Yes, please.
All right, welcome. Okay, let's talk about World Food Day. Food Day. Looking at our introduction, looking at our realities, in Nigeria, with the average Nigerian still talking about not being able to get staple food, balanced diet. Let me just throw an open-ended question. What are we not doing right, Prince?
Well, let us start with the genesis of the flag of these nations. It's green, white, green,
Yes.
which means agriculture and peace.
True.
And those two things are really lacking in this country because there's no peace in the land and a lot of people are hungry. And going by what you just asked, what are we doing wrong? What do we need to be done? A whole lot of things to be done. Because Nigeria have no business being in a poverty level with what the United Nations has categorized us to be, that 80% of Nigerians are under poverty. This is very alarming. And to me, it's a disgrace to our country. It's a disgrace to our leaders that refuse to really have people's-oriented policy. If you look at the policy we've been having around, it's not really meant for the citizens. It's not really meant for the masses. It's only meant for certain set of groups. And the moment we keep on having this kind of policy that is always somersault all the time, that is not sustainable, we keep on having the problem of poverty. There's no way we are going to talk about economy or talking about food or talking about agriculture without talking about politics. Because politics is around everywhere you go. Even in your home, there's politics. Anywhere, there's politics. So it is time for the electorate to really ask these people coming to lead us, that what do you have for us to be able to feed us, for us to be able to be secured? Because if you are not secured in your home or in your farm, what are you going to do? So security is very important. Food is our right for the government to provide for us. Security is our right. And there are so many social amenities like that the government is supposed to provide for us, because there's no way a single individual should be able to provide water, light, security, everything for yourself. So with what I just said, we have a whole lot of arable land begging to be tilled. But we've been talking about modernization of agriculture, which we are really lacking behind. All over, look at our population. Our population is increasing by 10% every day, and our GDP is decreasing. Definitely that's a problem. How are you going to feed these people? Another major problem we keep on having, that if you are going to cater for certain set of people, do you even know the population? Our leader does not even know how many people we have in this country, so there's no way they could be able to plan for the number of citizens that they are trying to rule. So there's a whole lot of gap between the elites and the masses. And that is why you see most of the politicians today, they just throw money to the face of many people, and they went for it because they are hungry. It's out of poverty, because nobody will come and throw money to my face that I should come and vote for him. I will look at him that you crazy. Not that I'm being proud of what I'm saying, I'm the same thing with you, but when you see certain people that have not been able to eat in the morning, in the afternoon, and they say, oh, there's 2,000 naira for us to come and grab so that you can vote for them, everybody will run to them.
Okay.
So we have to be able to balance the equations, how we are being ruled, and are we even asking questions, how do we get to this level? And the only way we can know if we are really improving is go to the market. You will see that most of the prices of these staple foods are out of the reach of the masses. I remember we've been talking about food crisis for the past 5 years, and the food crisis are still with us. The food security, we are not secure when it comes to the terms of food. Because if you are able to be buying a bag of rice like about 3 or 4 years ago at the rate of 7,000, 8,000, but today we are buying at an exorbitant price of about 14,000, then that means something is wrong. When your government tells you that we have self-sufficiency in rice production, and many people cannot afford it, just like what my sister have said, that a lot of people cannot be able to afford this food. Why should I be buying 4 pieces of tomatoes in the market for 100 naira with all the abundance of land we have? So there are a lot of problems with the land allocations, with the funding, with the infrastructure that is not even there, and the kind of leadership we have. what kind of policy are they really putting on the table?
All right. Okay, well said. But looking at it now, what should be the focus? Because you talked about policy somersault, you talked about all the programs, and policies the government have had to put over the years. But is it going to get to a situation where the average Nigerian has to start fending for himself? We have to start doing sustenance, self-sufficiency for just our families, because as it is now, when we ordinarily cannot go to the market, to buy these farm produces, would we fall back to a situation where we have to start taking care of our own immediate needs when it comes to food?
Definitely. If you've been watching the trend that has been going on, I'm an advocate of family farming. I think we discussed it on this platform one time that if people can be able to have a family farming or practice family farming, if you're able to feed your nucleus family, the congestion in the market will be able to be reduced. And whatever you're able to produce, whatever she is able to produce, you cannot consume everything. What do? You take it to the market. It happens everywhere in the world, even the United States of America. There's something they call flea market. Every weekend you see a whole lot of people, backyard farmers, that's what they call them, that whatever they are able to the leftover, they bring it to the market at a very cheaper rate. So I'm an advocacy for let everybody practice farming. Since the government have really failed us, because I will give you the reason why the government have really failed us. Look at all the local governments we have. How many tractors were attached to each local government? If you are going to know a nation that is very serious in agriculture, it's just through the express road and through all the fertile land that we have that nobody is utilizing. This is how you will know if you are serious. So to me, we are not serious about agricultural practices. We are, until we started taking it as a business, people will be able to go into it, practice it, make money out of it, and the rest of it will not be for a joke. So as I said, yes, everybody, all hands must be on deck, including doctors, lawyers, everybody eat. Food is an essential thing for a human being. If you don't eat, there's no way you could be able to function. So to me, yes, let us study family farming until maybe one day the government will come to our risk. We'll be talking about mechanization for so long, but nothing is happening. In all these states, except few places in the north where you see a whole lot of tractors in local government or in the state where they use for their agricultural purposes. Okay. But in Southwest, we are really left behind.
All right, Prince, we'll come back to you in a bit. We're getting signals from your state. Let's join the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture in Oyo State, Atiola Diwali. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. We're looking at the World Food Day on the show this morning, and specifically, we are focusing on how to reduce hunger in Nigeria. Let's talk about the situation in Oyo State. A whole lot of young people, from what we have right now, would rather want to, look for white-collar jobs and just not really go into full-time farming or mechanized farming. What's the situation in Oyo State, and what have you been able to do as a ministry to make sure that young people are actually loving farming, agriculture that is, and are fully participating in it?
Yeah, I want to greet all Nigerians and especially the Oyo State populace. I want to say happy WorldFooddAys to my own constituency. I'm talking about all the farmers in Oyo State. Talking about how far the government of Governor Senator Ajimobi has been able to do concerning food security in Oyo State, and which has been anchored by the Ministry of Agriculture, Natural Resources and Rural Development. We actually have done quite a lot, at least to check the dynamism of agriculture so that people can, at the end of the day, know that it is a game for all comers, talking about diversification of economy, talking about what we have on ground, and Oyo State with each potentials, the all unique selling points that we have, like large arable land, about 24,454 square kilometers, which about 80% of what I'm talking about are cultivable. But so far so good is just about 15% that is being put into use because of the problem of land clearing and the magnitude of the job in agriculture. I can go further to let you know that the government of Governor Ajimobi embarked on what we call Agric Oyo. That is the Oyo State Agricultural Initiative, OSAI. And this has really changed the face of the game in Oyo State because it has three legs: the government-sponsored leg, and also we have the investors platform leg, and we have the third one, which is the expansion of already existing farms. And I can tell you of the achievement in all these areas. Like the government-sponsored one, we have in the local governments that are agrarian, youth coming to put into agriculture to see it as business. And we have some kind of achievement over there in terms of arable, the crops where we have comparative advantage. In maize in 2016, we have about 5 local governments going for about 40 hectares each, and youth taking it to 2 hectares. And even this is being sustained till 2018 production. In an area they call Ishain local government, we have over there 24 hectares being managed, mechanized, and you can see the way things are going. But like we all know, there is limit to actually when the government can actually employ. So the second leg of Oyo Agric has provided enabling environment for a lot of our investors, and they are all doing good and employing our teeming youth, even to the tune of 2,500 in some cases, and sometimes we even have more. Among those people that have already come to Oyo State, we have like the Globus Enterprise right over there at Onigambari. They are actually into aquaculture. They are having about 45 fish pond of catfish, which they take and they export live through these trailers that are being oxygenated to places after surviving the market of Oyo State, to places like Port Harcourt, to places like Kaduna, live. And I usually tell people, I say, what can happen when you are going on Nigerian road through the, whatever they call it, trailers or whatever, carrying fuel and getting accident and burning on the road? If you have live fish going on there, you will find out that all you need to do is to pick your fish again and you keep on going. So in that particular area, we have been able to give good environment and living environment for all the investors that have been able to apply to us. At least the serious one, they are already on the field performing. So those are the things that we are doing presently. We have an agri policy that will take us for 25 years and reviewable after every five years. And we are not even doing badly in terms of mechanization also. 388 tractors being purchased, the largest by any administration, has been purchased and is all over. And we are planning also to get rid of the issue of land clearing, which is typical of the Southwest. Thank you.
Okay, so considering the fact that Oyo State has been able to do all of this, as you said so far, how does this relate to the entire country, Nigeria? That's one. Then two, you say you have 398 tractors who are supposed to be working for the farmers. Now, farmers who are practicing privately, you know, local farmers or people who have little farms of their own, are they able to use some of this mechanization that you've brought into the state? Say, for instance, the tractors to clear their lands, to till their lands. Do they have access to some of this equipment for their own lands, since they are private factors? And then also looking at the fact that you say you are producing so much more, how affordable is the food? If you have so many people doing farming, how affordable is it in Oyo State? The average Oyo man, can he afford all of the produce that is being made in the state?
hear you clearly. That looks like a three-in-one questions, and I will take them one by one. Considering the fact that mechanization is the bane of agriculture in Oyo State, talking about the technology that we have and the research institutes that we have in Oyo State, that was why in year 2014 or thereabout, the procurement of that number of tractors, like I rightly said, with implements were actually done at the local government level. The local government area, the agrarian one, handles it, and it is easily available for all the farmers right around. Also at the ministry level, we have at the agricultural zone about 18 tractors that we are actually operating with at the ministry level at a subsidized rate. Oyo State is a very, very large state, the largest in the southwest, or let me say even in the south. And the number of people that we have actually, we still engage some private service provider on all this so that we can reach the nooks and corner. But as for the government, that was the one we do. Talking about the availability of food, most of these food are just seasonal, and in the season you get it very, very cheap, and during the time that is not off season you get another thing. But Oyo State government has even gone ahead to have a silo 10,000 meter capacity right there in Awe. It is fully automated and it is almost under construction, just to save this post-harvest loss and to have food reserve, so that at the end of the day the issue of instability in price can be controlled and the quality of the food for food safety purpose. So these are all the efforts being geared towards all that we need to do to get food sufficiency for our people in Oyo State.
All right, Mr. Adewale, I have another question for you right now. Okay, looking at World Food Day itself, what can you say are the major, food crops that Oyo can proud itself to say that it has produced, expansively and has affected, positively on the people of the state. Specifically, when I come to Oyo, when I go to Ibadan, especially, what comes to my head? The very first food I know about that is popular, that is like every affordable, is the regular lubo, that's amala, and the other food or soups that go with it. Now, aside from amala, talking about yam flour and of course maize, what other food crops is your state, proud of and can say that the average or your restaurant can enjoy affordably?
Let me start by responding and telling you that Oyo State is blessed with a favorable climatic condition that actually ranges from forest vegetation to savanna and derived savanna, and then virtually we can grow nearly everything. But to come back to your question about our crops of comparative advantage, I will at this particular point roll out some statistics for you that Oyo State, as we talk of today, is the leading cassava grower producer, where we are having by the record of about 55 million metric tons for all Nigeria. Oyo State is producing about 5.6 metric tons, and this is what we pride ourselves in. And this administration of Governor Ajimobi has gone a leg further by adding value to this. As we all know, cassava is a perishable crop. It will survive for maybe about 48 hours, and it has to be processed. So all over the state now, we have the middle processors, and I can start counting names, and they'll be hearing me now. Niji Foods is over there in Ilero. Sotri International is at Tado Hawaii. We have at Iseyin, and so other people over there. So generally, we are there to uptake the cassava roots for them. You talk about yam. Yam is a good crop where we are.
All right, we are having a bit of connectivity issue now with your state. We'll see if we can try and reconnect. We've been speaking with Atiola Adewale, Department Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture in your state. Many thanks for joining us on the show. Now, Prince Wale, you've listened to what the commissioner has said so far from the PS rather has said so far from Oyo State. In your opinion, do you think government has really done enough, aside from a few states that we can mention that have directly impacted on some staple crops? For instance, you can talk about the lake rice, although it still has its own challenges. That's an initiative of the Lagos State and the Kebbi State government. How would you say the government at the state levels have actually performed when it comes to food security in Nigeria?
Justin, just hearing what the peers have said, I'm not trying to be subjective, but to me, what the state government or the federal government be doing in terms of agriculture in this country is nothing but cosmetics. You can hear me say 15% of the arable land were able to be cultivated. That is extremely low with the population of Oyo State. And with the large expanse of land that they have there, it's not only in Oyo State, it's all the states, even Lagos State that will decide. Are they really serious about agriculture? The answer is no. All what they are doing is cosmetics. And I'm here to be corrected. If any farmers can be able to say that, yes, they're enjoying some kind of benefits from the government. Yes, there are so many programs, there are so many policies, don't get me wrong, that is going on, that is flying around, especially with the low interest rate that the CBN are introducing. If you see the kind of conditions, that a whole lot of these farmers will not be able to meet up to get into this loan. And what happened at the end of the day? This money will end up into the hands of the political farmers or portfolio farmers. And that is why we are not really doing well in terms of agriculture in the country. It's most of the states, except few places in the north, where they have abundance of tractors, because in the modern age, that is why you don't find most of the youth going to the farming. In the whole of Lagos State, which I don't think they have up to 10 tractors. Yes.
The entire Lagos.
In the whole of Lagos State.
Wow.
They don't.
Then again, we have to also talk about land for farming in Lagos State. You mentioned something about urban farming where families could cultivate, have their own private farms and all of that. We have to look at the issue of land in Lagos State. Most of the lands, most of the places that could have been designated for, having like farms and all of that, have been turned for commercial purposes. You have people living in those areas. I would like to, I don't think I'm aware of any area in Lagos that is quite, free, that you say, okay, this is this part of land where agriculture could take place. So when you say urban farming for those places, or people farming in my compound for one, it's not even that large. And we don't even have a garden. The only thing we have is aloe vera plants. I remember there was a time when the Lagos State government was saying things about everybody must have a garden in their house, you must plant trees, or you must plant one of those things. Most of the compounds you find, most of the houses you find, don't even have enough land to be able to even do little farming within there. And in Lagos State, again, do we have that kind of land that we could use for farming?
My sister, we do have that kind of land.
Okay, so can you give us an example of
I have a farm in Lagos State.
Where?
And I have over 100 acres of land. In this Lagos State, upper side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're familiar by my farm.
Yes,
and along the whole axis of it, talking to Ikorodu to Ekpe, is designated as farmland. Some of them have been allocated. Some people are already taking possession. A lot of people have not really taken possession. I know what I'm talking about. Even the Lagos State government have to go as far as renting or leasing lands in other states like Oyo, Ondo, Ogun.
Yes.
But the one in Lagos State, we have enough land. Even if you don't have enough to plant, to go into cash crops, what about vegetables? What about fish? What about poultry? We have enough land to do that.
Lagos.
And not even that. My suggestion to the Lagos State from the beginning, which I'm still standing on it, is that accepted that we don't have that too much land like Oyo State or all other states. Why can't we go into value chain? Value chain does not require much land. The meaning of value chain, we can get some of these raw materials from other states, bring it to the center of excellency, start processing. A lot of youth will be employed. A lot of young graduates will be able to employ. A lot of people can go into marketing. A lot of people can go into exporting some of these produce out. And it's going to increase the GDP. We gave them an agenda when they first came into the government, both the federal and the state, that it is very important that every geopolitical zones should be able to have a cluster of farmers where they can be processing some of this farm produce. This is where some of these, we have all this harvest lost, where you produce and you know they are very perishable. Before you get to the town, before you get to the market, half of it already gone. But in that area, instead of looking for farmers, for market in other states, you can create a hub over there where everybody can bring their produce. A lot of people will be there to process. And you'll be surprised how all these youths, they are very exorbitant. They are really eager to go into this farming, but the technical know-how is not there. The environment is not conducive for them. Because there's nothing you will do if there's no equipment for you. I'm talking of modern equipment this time around. If it is garri processing or yam flour processing or tomato processing or vegetable, you can even package vegetables. We all travel, you go to the market, you buy it fresh. But without electricity, there's no way you could do most of these storage facilities. So that's why I keep on saying that federal government intervention and state government intervention is key if you really want to move forward in terms of agriculture, because without storage facilities, we are just wasting our time.
Yeah, and also we talk about infrastructure, road infrastructure. Most times when I travel, you see there's this period where the season of mangoes,
yes.
If you're traveling, you just drive through and then you see a whole lot of mangoes that have spoiled on the roadside. So we even have the issue of transporting, from one village to another. You go to Ogbomoso, you see mangoes. Most of them are, the harvest, most of the harvest actually goes to being, destroyed at the end of the day.
Sure.
Because there's no way to move them to the bigger towns or the bigger cities. And then at the end of the day, you come to Lagos, you want to buy a piece of mango and they're telling you 100 naira. Meanwhile, you go to Ogbomoso and you buy like 10 and you buy 100 and then a lot of them is actually wasted. And this is something I think the government needs to
Let me tell you another thing.
on.
Most of the concentrates of some of this juice that you're drinking on your table are being imported. 80%. Going by what you just said, all those mango could be collected in that area and extract the juice and come and sell it to the company like sheep farms or shishi that we drink. All what you just have to do is to provide an enabling environment. You can take the industry to these people in the rural area. They don't have to come to the urban area. So I know what I'm talking about. Even if you cannot do a geopolitical zone, what about our senatorial district? We have 3 senatorial districts in all states. You can bring these small industries to this senatorial district. Now, what happened to all the all these what do they call it? Constituency allowances. I of the opinion that if you are a senator and you are given 40 million as a constituency allowance per quarter, that is 3 months. If it is ordinary this processing equipment you are going to buy to that area, I bet you people in that constituency will feel the impact.
Okay, Prince, we'll come back to you. We haven't signals again yet from Oyo State. Let's join the permanent secretary yet again of the Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Atiola Adewale. Many thanks for joining us once again. Okay, we've been talking so far here in our Lagos studios, and we've identified issues, during the value chain, and of course issues of processing and storage. In your state specifically, you've talked tremendously about how well your state is doing as regards this food crops. But how have you been able to sort out the issues of food shortages, storage facilities, and other issues that make this food stuff not to last throughout the year?
Well, I can hear you clearly, but what I heard is as if you're talking about research.
I was talking about how you've been able to manage as a state to, to stem the issue of food wastages in terms of storage losses and of course processing. How has your ministry been able to curb that?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I can now flow. Yeah, definitely. When I talk about post-harvest losses for all our grains, that was the time I talked about the provision and the establishment of a 10,000 metric ton silo right at our way. This we actually helped, which is doing now, to store all our grains, and we are going to be having a reduction of post-harvest loss to about 30%, which is part of the whole thing to complement and make sure that the food reserve for the state is being boosted. And you will not even forget that we are even having some other set of moribund silo by the federal government at Monotone area, which by now they are planning the concession to a private sector, not only that one of Oyo State, but all over the country. Let me say that the efforts are also there with most of our investors, because another comparative advantage area is the issue of our fruits basket along Ogbomoso, where people listening to me will know that seasonally we have all kind of fruits being produced along that area, from mango all the way to citrus and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of all these fruit processing companies along that route. One basic thing about Oyo Agric, which is the flagship program of this something, is that all agricultural production should be market driven. Yes, I had the other colleagues over there talking about not seeing everything. It's not every state that will be talking about lake rice or whatever. There are so many investors that have one way or the other contributed to the food, whatever. They have their products even abroad. I don't want to be advertising over here. When you odorless fufu, flour fufu on the shelf now, go over there. I don't want to mention the name. It's over there, even abroad. So in most cases, what we are talking about is that before our farmers go to the field, the anchors are there, the markets are there, and that is the only way where you can make agriculture to be agribusiness. Talking about wastages, that of agriculture in Oyo State now, that is the way to add value and to make agriculture attractive to all our people. And this is what we have been doing, especially when you talk about the case of cassava that cannot be uptaken by anybody except you process it at the farm gate. So all the industries, cottage industry and the big industry, they are right there on the field at the Agarian local government. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've been speaking with the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Oyo State. Adewale, many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today. Now, Prince, another question I have for you. Okay, maybe one, not mine now, but let me just take this one. It's a question from one of our viewers. He happened to hear that you had been with the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's asking specifically, how can the LCCI help real farmers to access the so-called SMEs loan? That's from Budget Wolf Shegun.
Well, the SME has come and stayed, and the LCCI have our own platform of agri-sector that you must be in a cooperative before you can tap into it, and it's ongoing with the Sterling Bank also, with the cooperation of the SCCI and the Sterling Banks and some other banks, Bank of Industry, which are they are members of us. So definitely, but a lot of these people, they want to tap into this SME, but they don't really have what it takes. Maybe they don't have the farm, or they don't have a processing plant, and Bank of Industry will never give you money unless you're already in the farming business, or you wanted to improve on your production. The same thing with Bank of Agriculture. If you don't have a land, there's no way they will give you a land. So there's no way they will give you the loan. So with the SME, that is why the CBN, the only thing I'm faulting the CBN and the federal government is that they really have to monitor how this money has been disbursed. We have the anchor borrowers, which is not really helping the farmers. We have the NASA programs that is not really helping the farmers, because it's not really getting to the hands of the people that really need it. And I believe there should be a data for farmers in this country, that if there's any funds coming out, they should be able to know which area And every state have got their own advantage of any products. So maybe they could buy equipment for such products in that area for processing. And thereby, most of these farmers that really wanted to tap into these ME funds can go to that clusters. I keep on saying that the federal government does not really need to give farmers solid money. All what they need is conducive environment and providing something like fertilizers, improved seed, so that when you plant a corn, you will know that you'll be able to get a better yield out of it. And we still depend on most of the seed that we're using in this country from abroad, maybe from India, from China. They have their own climate issues. Why should they bring their own technology into ours? Why can't we develop our own? Because agri today have to go technology.
Okay, Prince, more questions for you here. This one says, political farmers have taken over all the loans. Most of the loans are developed to exclude practical farmers. My company processes 1.5 tons of gari daily with no support from any government. What is the way out?
Well, the only way, as I said, that the government really need to monitor how this money is being channeled out. I know for fact that some of this money does not get to the real farmers.
Yes.
And we've been talking to the government either through the CBN or through the Minister of Agriculture that monitor how this money is being given out. It's being dispersed. Some people were giving this money, they kept it into their account, and by the time that the farmer really need this fund, it's not available. It's when they are out of season that they will release this fund. And by that time, now you'll be chasing the farmers that we gave you loan, you cannot perform. How are they going to perform when you did not give to them at the right time when needed? So there are so many issues with the loan given out in this country. It's not really the fault of the defaulters, but the way the money is being given out. Are they giving out on time, and at what interest rate? If the CBN said you should give out a loan for 9%, I bet all these commercial banks are still going to add other things. And at the end of the day, you will not be able to pay up some of this loan with all the environment that is not really working out for businesses in this country. So there are a whole lot of challenges. And until the government can really come up and say, listen, this is the way there is an agenda. And there's a way out. But until the stakeholders of agriculture can be called, I'm not talking of the political farmer this time around, but if anything come up, you see a whole lot of emergency contractors trying to bid for some of these funds, how they can release to their pocket. We have to go beyond that if we really want to focus on agriculture in this country. We'll be talking about diversification. What are we diversifying? Where, even within our country, we cannot even be able to feed ourselves 3 square meals a day, where the price of foodstuff, of table food, are totally beyond the reach of masses.
Okay, let's talk about what we as individuals, let's leave farmers for a while. Let's talk about how we as individuals can, save food. A lot of families waste a lot of food. Sure. In other countries, you have what they call soup kitchens, or, places for the homeless, where if you have leftover food at home, food that you've cooked, you can take out to, give to people. Like, you go for parties here in Nigeria, you go for events and all of that, and they serve out food. And then we have a wasting culture here. You take out so much food on your plate, you pile up your plate with food, and you probably can't finish the rest of it. And then the remaining, leftovers from maybe the event or whatever, they throw it away. We need to, I think this is another issue we have to address. As a family, as an organization, as a corporation, even in families, there's some people that they cook food, and then after eating, you just throw everything, dump it in the bin. How do we get those kind of foods? How do we get it to people who are hungry, people who need it? And how do we educate people, families basically, to learn how to conserve some of these things?
Definitely there shouldn't be no wastage. Where we are talking that a lot of people are hungry, even with this party you are talking about, you see a lot of scavengers. As they are bringing the food, they are packing it into some kind of polythene bags to go and feed at home. In most countries, even some of this wasted food are left over. You know what they do? They use it to feed their animals. I remember when I was in China, all the food from the kitchen, the leftover, there's a channel that it goes to. You know where those rice, those potatoes are going? They're going to a fish pond. That way, they don't have to go and buy feed again to feed those
The animals.
those fish in the pond, especially the catfish or tilapia. So until we can be able to develop this kind of environment that there shouldn't be no wastage, and thank God what the CBN was saying that, oh, nobody should be spray money in the party, because it's when you are able to fill yourself, then you started spraying money in the party. This is part of the wastage we are talking about. But when it comes to food, yes, I think it's out of greed. Because you see a lot of people, they pack food for them, they look at it. Some of them will even eat twice or 3 times. You don't blame them, because they know that they might not be able to get this
for
thing
like a couple of days
in another
more.
days or the next weekend. So it's out of greed, and they have to go home and be having stomach upset. So yes, we should be able to manage the resources we have and be able to curtail and maybe a little portion of what we wanted to eat. But that one has to do with the individuals organizing the party.
Okay, but Prince Oyekoya, do you see a vista of hope for Nigeria and Nigerians? Do you see a situation where we can ordinarily just be able to eat food and eat, balanced diet, and also eat affordably and not even bother about where the next meal is going to come from?
Definitely, if it is possible, with individuals' effort and the government effort. If you remember, in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, even in the 80s, we eat balanced diet. It's when we discovered the oil that everybody is looking for emergency money, so we neglected agriculture. If you remember, in the olden days, where you used to have the granite pyramids, the cocoa plantation, rubber plantation in all the regions. So it's possible, my brother, especially now that a lot of people are practicing organic farming, because fertilizers or all this synthetic food have taken over our tables. But it could be reversed with the proper interventions and proper policy. That I'm talking of really sincere policy. I was of the opinion that all these 5,000 they are giving to some of these people that does not have money, the federal government, the sort of social development program. To me, 5,000, the following day the money is gone. So why can't they use all those billions to create all this cluster of processing plants that I was talking about? A lot of people will be able to benefit. A lot of people will be able to gain employment. A lot of people will be able to feed themselves. So we should be able to stop all these food stamp issues. It's helping people in abroad, but it's not helping us here. Because at the end of the day, all these 5,000 will end up to the hands of their supporters. It's not really, a lot of people are hungry over there. Are they really getting this 5,000 naira? The answer is no. So all this aggregate money should be able to spend in all the geopolitical zones, as I said. Provide an enabling environment. You can provide light there. In that area, there's something you can call IPP. Maybe you create enough electricity to power the cold room over there to be able to store some of these things we are talking about. Because the problem in this country mostly is about infrastructure development. Even when you produce some of these things in the farm, to bring it to the city,
it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Good road networks.
Okay,
no road networks.
But what about, let's talk about something that as we begin to round off. How would you access the federal government's plan by feeding school children? Do you think in any way it has helped out or maybe reduced the level of hunger among school children?
To me, it's wastage.
How so? In
the sense that all this, if you look at the way they contract out the people feeding these students, they are their friends. I was expecting the federal government that, okay, in each state there are students, in each state there are farmers. In each state, you know what you want in this state. Why can't you empower those farmers directly? That way you'll be able to collect some of this produce from the farmer. That way the farmer will be able to supply, just like what I said, in all geopolitical zone or senatorial district. They know where they are going to buy this food. Why giving, okay, in terms of eggs, they gave the whole contract to one farmer. I'm not going to make mention of them. I was totally against it. How are you going to give the whole eggs to be feeding the whole nation to one farmer, ranging to billions of naira? We kicked against it. But look at it, at the end of the day, demand is not even supplying again, because there's no way you could be able to meet up the demand. So why can't you spread it over? That way you'll be able to see a lot of farmers coming into business, not killing the people that are there already. And another thing, there's no price control. So when I heard about school feeding, it's a very good program. I remember when I was going to the secondary school, when we have the army as our security details then. Yeah, we do it, and it goes very far. A lot of people were involved with farming then. But with this school feeding, where you just pick few people in each state, it's not going to work.
You still spend so much more on it.
So much more. So instead of it to have been spread over, that way you'll be able to empower so many farmers. And a lot of youth in the process of packaging, in the process of branding, you see a lot of youth tapping into it. But if you give it to one person, it's going to be totally being met. That's why I say it's a wastage.
All right, it's the World Food Day edition. I've been looking at reducing hunger in Nigeria. I've been talking extensively about agriculture in Nigeria, vis-a-vis what the government has done, its policies and programs, and how they have so far impacted on the life of the average Nigerian, being able to eat and eat well, and of course not be thinking of how to eat the next day. Is it possible? What are we doing? What have we done? And what should we be doing? We've been focusing on all of these issues on the show this morning. I want to say a very big thank you to all of you who have watched, and of course to those of you who have sent in SMSs. We do appreciate it. We must say a very big thank you to our guest here in Lagos, Prince Wale Oyekoya. He is the former chairman LCCI Agric Sector, and of course he's the GMD Bama Farms Limited. Many thanks, Prince, for joining us on the show today. And of course, we also have from Ibadan, we had the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources and Rural Development, Atilola Victor Adewale, who joined us directly from Ibadan. Thank you so much. And that's our show for today. Let's do it again tomorrow. We'll be looking at health. My name is Justin Akadonye.
And a quick one before we go, I just want to tell everyone out there, we all should try our best to make sure that we do not waste food. There are a lot of people who are hungry. So if you're taking food, be careful, be conscious of whatever it is. Then waste less, eat better, adopt a sustainable, lifestyle. And of course, a plea to the federal government to try and help farmers who are trying to, make a daily living by providing food for the entire Nigeria. I'm Stephanie Ojade. Do have a wonderful day.